right, I'm going to record. We'll go right into it. Titties. We all love them. Penises. Some love them too. But what happens when you put penises and titties together? The internet explodes and your wildest dreams come true. It's Futanari this week on Nothing Good.
Hey, guys.
Hey. I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this, but I think it's a pretty good idea. You want to record a podcast tonight?
Maybe.
We should do that. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
We should.
I think we should. I think we should do it right fucking now.
I feel like we're all at this orgy anyway, and it's a little crowded. And I don't know about you guys, but my ticket, like you get at the cafeteria counter or the deli, I'm not up for a while, so we got time.
See,
we got this table here. I mean,
I'm on the other side of that. My ticket was called early, and I need a break.
Yeah,
like my asshole is raw.
Oh, you were okay.
Yeah.
Cool. It's always interesting to know that when you just start freestyling, where your friends would put themselves in a human centipede.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just found out.
Yeah.
Well, listen, if I don't have to worry about anything going in my mouth, I'd rather be at the front of that centipede than the back.
Better to be the engine than the caboose.
That's
I
right.
guess, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I want to just really take a second and get out of this conversation.
Nice segue.
You started it.
Yeah, he didn't
Kind
know
of.
it was going to go that
Yeah.
way.
You should have known.
I should have known. I want to address the elephant in the room, and I wanted to, even though, the best part of having no fucking advertisers is that we're not beholden to anybody for any sort of schedule. But I do want to apologize to the listeners that we do have, that we haven't put out content in like a fucking month at least. No. And I feel like that. I think it's fair to at least say, hey, we appreciate you for coming back
Thanks
and
for
listening.
sticking around.
And fuck you.
Yes, that's the part I really want to talk about right there. Is that, listen, and first of all, I believe I speak for all of us when I say that we are grateful for anybody that spends even a minute to listen to us fucking just shoot shit out of our mouths all the time. That being said, I don't fucking owe you anything. How fucking fuck you, okay? And you know what? I think fuck you and the horse you rode in on. The horse is not cool. It knows what it's done. And it's going to fucking do it again if we don't stop it.
Did you guys just catch Noah went back to season 1, fuck you?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Do people still ride in on horses?
Some places. I don't know. I don't think they have podcasts in those places, like Wyoming, which may or may not exist.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. It was never ratified.
We should just do an episode on Wyoming.
I recently
Fucking liar.
I recently watched A Million Ways to Die in the West for the first time, and I'm pretty sure they rode in on all the horses.
They didn't.
Yeah.
Charlize Theron can ride in on anything she wants to. And I don't think anyone will say a fucking thing.
No.
But you know who's going to say a fucking thing? We are. We're going to say all kinds of fucking things. Because, gentlemen, we're back. And, boy, are we back with a vengeance. Because it's that time. First of all, I just want to say, the show's been on, 14 months old, 15 months old, something in that vicinity. Mm-hmm. What a journey. What a journey we've gone on this. We've gone from just Doc and I, with 8 people listening, all the way through adding the 2 most wonderful gentlemen that we could add to the show.
Thank you.
All the way through 50 episodes, a couple thousand downloads, a live show, and now here we are at our second Halloween Havoc episode.
It's kind of crazy. Since the last time we've all gotten together, some crazy shit's happened. Jeff and I are celebrating our first, our 1 year anniversaries on the show.
Yes.
Ah, that's right.
Which is pretty crazy.
I will drink to that, James.
And just absolutely right.
Cheers.
And Jones, I'm going to take a minute here to acknowledge that we're celebrating your 40th trip around the sun. Because since our last episode, you hit the big 4-0.
Yeah, as did you.
And I also hit the big 4-0.
Yeah, we are now in a whole other stratosphere.
We are in a
stratosphere.
We are in a whole different survey bracket.
Here's how terrible of a friend I am. I thought you were both 39 this year. I would have made far bigger deal for your birthdays had I known it was 40. So we'll just, at some point in the next calendar year, I will overreact to you guys being 40.
You were at the party.
You were.
I was. But
It said 40
The
on
giant
the
4-0 for Dave's banner just didn't
you know what?
register.
That makes a lot of sense. Now you say it like that. Yeah.
It's nice that when you looked at the Death Star cake that you just did not even just
ignore the
glazed
numbers.
past the
And all-
4-0.
and all-
ignore
It
the
wasn't an
numbers.
exhaust port. That was the 0.
In all due fairness, you had the Death Star cake kind of tucked into a cubby. And I was doing what all of us do at a party, which was holding court far away from the actual action. And by the time I got over there, the face and the area of the Death Star cake was defaced, and I couldn't really do it. It's my fault, though. I'm not blaming anybody else. You
I mean,
motherfuckers
it's
did
sure as
20
shit your fault.
reporting.
But you know what?
I'm just saying that
That's on you, brother.
I would have overreacted a little bit more had I known that. As the only one of us that's not 40 yet, it's still a big deal to me.
And it was a big deal for Dave and I. And you know what? I appreciate you having the general energy to say it now, and it's okay.
I'm gonna fuck with you guys at some point in the year. It's just like to
I
get it
like
out
how
for
he just
myself.
didn't know.
I was like, oh yeah, they're 39. Next year's gonna be crazy when they're 40. Yeah, no, I'm just a terrible fucking prick.
Oh, you got a lot going on.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of a lot going on, this pay-per-view had a lot going on.
Oh my god.
What a
It
paper.
really
So,
did.
you know, we've typically just, ragged all over WCW for their pay-per-views.
Justly.
And then this one shows up. And I don't have a lot bad to say about it. This was an amazing card on this pay-per-view.
On paper, every single match has a star in it. At least one. And you want to watch it. But as sure as, to quote Paula Cole, as soon as, or whoever sings the song, as sure as the sun goes round the moon and all that other shit, WCW will find a way to WCW.
Are you dropping, like, Paula Cole?
Yeah, I think that's what I was going for.
The fuck?
Sometimes the sun goes round the moon. Yeah. Sometimes you got to save the best for last, which I hope is eventually we will review one good WCW pay-per-view before we explode.
From beginning to end good.
From beginning to end good. Yeah, we've talked about
It might be a fucking while.
Make sure you don't go another 4 bars. We're going to have to pay for that shit.
Oh, yeah. Keep it.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of funds
No, but
for the show. Not yet.
on paper, the show looks incredible. Jeff's got the Wikipedia readout of the match card there, and on paper, you're like, fuck yeah. We got a little bit of we got Macho Man Randy Savage, we got Eddie Guerrero, we got Arn Anderson, we got all kinds of shit floating around in there.
You have Rey Mysterio when he was still Rey Mysterio Jr.
Yeah, when he was like before someone, like back in the day of Microsoft Paint, when you wanted to make an image bigger, you would just stretch that shit. It would be disproportionate. This was the original Rey Mysterio image before they just fucking stretched that thing widthwise.
Good for him for not having tattoos at this point in time, because there's no way that would have aged well.
No, the roids plus the tattoos are not often a good.
Yeah, it's not a great look.
No, but we have on paper, and in very WCW fashion, the show starts in a hell of a way. But by the time you get to the main event, with all of the shenanigans that a WCW pay-per-view in the 90s will bring, you don't have like the energy for life anymore.
No.
Much less what they're going to bring to you. So I'm excited to get into it. But before we do, gentlemen, it's been a while. But what are we drinking?
Well, I will tell you what I'm drinking. It's from the Old Thunder Brewing Company. Mm-hmm. It's called Almost Everything, and it's pretty goddamn tasty. I'm enjoying it.
Very nice.
It is quite good. I am also drinking the same thing, thanks to Doc.
Yep. I will go with the third on that and say I'm also drinking Almost Everything, which, going back to the orgy is what I've been doing. So it's a really appropriate drink.
That's fucking tasty.
Yeah.
I am not. I'm going to break the chain. I am drinking a Winston India Pale Ale from the Mindful Brewing Company. 7.6 from out of, I don't even know. Are they local?
Yeah.
You can see
their
their
street
Oh, shit,
from
that
my
is the
window.
place down the street.
You
Yeah.
can actually see their building from
the
outside
window.
the window.
Then
Right
on
down
my
there.
way home, after 2 of these, I will drive by and sexually harass the building. And
There we
just kind
go.
of like keep it in there. So this
As
is
you should.
This is for you, Mindful Brewing. This is for you.
So there's 2 local breweries, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a quick word about the state of wrestling in 1996. Now, when we last left off with Halloween Havoc 95,
Did we last leave off, or is it still somewhere going on?
I thought
it's still playing
I
somewhere.
thought that's the show we're recording right now.
If you close your eyes and listen on a cold, dark, wintry night, the dog will bark. It's the dogs of war. The dogs of WCW war. But when we last left off from Halloween Havoc 95, we were still pre-NWO. Wrestling was in a very low period. The Hogan and WCW experiment seemed to not be going very well. And the last shot we had was Hulk Hogan being gang raped by the Giant and a mummy. And somehow that wins you the WCW championship. And we go off the air. Well, lo and behold, what a difference a year will make for a wrestling company, because the New World Order comes out and is the hottest thing the wrestling business has seen since Hulkamania. And now we're not even at the peak of the NWO. We're still in the swell. We're still in the build-up, and it's going to start spilling over to all avenues of the wrestling business. So wrestling is crazy. People are jumping ship from the WWF left and right. Hall, Nash, DiBiase, fucking Virgil.
Sean Waltman.
I
feel like anytime something starts to overflow, Sean Waltman's there.
He'll find work.
He will.
He'll find a way.
Yeah, he will.
But this time is also interesting, too, because 95 WCW was a lot of the mainstays from early 90s. People still had jobs somehow. Mark Merrow hadn't fucking quit yet. Thank God he's gone now. But now Bischoff, in his chance to try to build a wrestling company, has gone out and recruited stars from all over the world who were unknowns for now. We're talking about Dean Malenko, Conan, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, and many more are going to show up, and mixed in with the star of the yesteryears. So this is going to be an interesting show. So,
yeah, and you mentioned it. You know, it was the beginning of the NWO takeover. There were only a few months after Bash at the Beach when they made their official invasion with Hogan as the third man, and so it really started the peak of the Monday Night Wars. I mean, myself, who was a diehard WWF guy, started switching the channel and flipping back and forth.
This was it.
And you started to see that a lot in wrestling fan base across the board.
It was really cool as a kid to watch. WCW at this point is running on full cylinders. They're rolling. Mm-hmm. And this is obviously before NWO becomes NWO Light, which, that's a conversation for another time, maybe later on tonight. But, I always use the term the talk of the lunch table. But at this stage, Monday morning or Monday afternoon, you're talking to your friends in class or during recess about, man, you see this, you see that, the pay-per-view, and then Tuesday was even a bigger deal. You see what happened on Raw or Nitro.
Yep.
WCW finally found its stride. It stopped being like a number 2, maybe, to it's a fucking number 1. And for a long time.
It was interesting because we are in the beginning of that 83 weeks that we hear. 83 consecutive weeks. Nitro beats Raw in the ratings and starts to turn the tide of the wrestling war. But even though at this time you can see undisputably Nitro's number 1 and would be for a while, they still found a way to WCW it up. Which proves,
as they do.
And I'm going to say this again at the end of this episode, but this whole show proves to me that WCW was the number 1 wrestling organization in the world in spite of itself. Because if it was just how well the show was put together or the quality of stories they were trying to tell, this wouldn't have made it off the fucking ground. It was all over the place. You had missed time and you had weird camera shots. I mean, there's promos where people in the promo aren't even in the fucking camera shot. So WCW, WCW, but wrestling was so hot and the NWO angle was such a great fucking idea and well executed in its own little microcosm that WCW was able to succeed despite the fact that it had no business doing so.
Yeah, you had so many personalities at that point in time that it was really difficult to kind of wrangle. Really difficult to wrangle a lot of those characters in at that point because you had so many major established wrestlers that had jumped ship from WWF at that point, and they were running the show. They had so much input into what was happening. You couldn't really control that. You just had to kind of let it go. And for a while, it just dominated everything. But then it got to a point where it was just almost too much.
There was too much of a lot of things.
Well, it's interesting too because even watching this pay-per-view, there are a lot of elements of it that is a WCW pay-per-view, but there are a lot of elements about it too that aren't. Not talking necessarily about camera angles or things, but matches and pacing and characters and because you had some wrestlers that were very established WCW guys, and then you had the WWF guys that were coming in. You had that juxtaposition of North versus South, right? And there's always going to be some friction to that.
Well, and then just like that, you're also going to slather a whole heaping of Dusty Rhodes on commentary all over this fucking show, which makes sure that it's grounded firmly, baby, in the most WCW of WCW that you can ever WCW.
No way you can talk about Dusty Rhodes and not do your Dusty Rhodes.
You have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, you don't even understand what I'm talking about here.
No way you can.
We're talking about NWO and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. That's
a man's got to take a stand here for the WCW. Ric Flair coming down. He's the Nature Boy. Jeff Jarrett. How is he doing it? I don't know, baby. And then he just yells random half words. He's like, no.
Know what I'm talking about. Oh.
And then Shorty's like, low? He's like, low, baby. Yeah. Man, just breath and pathway here. Everyone would know him, man. It's like, oh, God, Dusty. It's like if it's a fucking drink, I would drink it every day.
I apologize if this is a broken record, but I feel like the first time we talked about Dusty Rhodes on the show, I said this, but I'm going to say it again. It bears repeating. I did not watch Dusty Rhodes growing up, outside of little bits and pieces from the WWF, which was not Dusty Rhodes.
Nope.
No.
My real Dusty Rhodes introduction was WCW Saturday Night, when he was commentating. And I thought the motherfucker was hilarious when I was a kid. And as you get older, you watch his old shit on YouTube. You're like, this motherfucker was over. Like Rover, But the way he talks, the way he announces, I can listen to Dusty Rhodes talk about anything. I love his promos. His promos when in his prime were something else entirely. They were second to none. But to listen to him for like 2 hours on this show with fucking Bobby Heenan, a most likely intoxicated Bobby Heenan, and Tony Schiavone just trying to not be annoyed is like, it's fucking fantastic.
I believe at some point, I have to go back, and I believe it was either during Harlem Heat and the Outsiders or Hogan and Savage that. Actually, no, I'm going to tell you, it was absolutely, there was a near fall on one of those matches, and I think Heenan meant to say, we are so close, guys. But I think he says, we are so drunk, guys. And I got to go back and find a clip on it. He, literally says it. So
I hope so.
But let's get this thing started.
Let's get into it.
And what the hell of an opening match. And here's the thing, too. We're going to talk all night here and there about WCW theme songs. Either they're slapping or they're fucking trash. And half of the Cruiserweight songs, all of the Cruiserweight songs minus Eddie Guerrero, all sounded the damn same. Like plucky strings, plucky strings, plucky strings, plucky strings. So I know that song, and I'm hearing it, I'm like, who's coming out? But to know that we open with, I swear to God, the same song, Dean Malenko versus the WCW Cruiserweight Champion, Rey Mysterio. What the fuck? This was like a treat. This is a fucking treat.
Was this the longest match on the card, just about?
Potentially.
I think it was.
Didn't feel, certain matches felt longer.
It was 5 seconds shorter than the Hogan match.
Yeah.
Not counting the promo at the end. Obviously.
So you guys have always been deeper wrestling fans than I have. I mean, I'm a couple fingers, and you guys are elbow deep into the wrestling. So I have periods of time where I had been very into wrestling, and periods of time where maybe I was just kind of lightly into wrestling. And around this time was when I was lightly into wrestling, but my brother came to me and said, listen, you gotta watch WCW Monday Nitro because there's this fucking guy, and he's like this 5 foot tall luchador wrestler, and he just spins and flips and jumps, and that's how I got introduced to Rey Mysterio Jr. And, you watch Rey today, and there's still elements of what Rey has always been, but what he's put his body through and what he's been through physically in his life, he is just a piece of what he had been. Going to see 21-year-old Rey Mysterio Jr. against Dean Malenko was just the fucking, I loved it. I mean,
two guys at their peak. Rey has had a couple of peaks. This was during his first peak. And, oh, man.
Fucker hadn't even peaked yet.
No, he's on his way up.
And he was only in WCW for a few months at this point. He was
21 years old.
green.
21-year-old Rey Mysterio. And of course they dropped this in the commentary. Already 7 years of pro.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a thing, isn't it?
Right?
It's a hell of a thing.
Jesus Christ, man.
So on paper, there's some matches that on paper you look at them and you say, oh, that'll be pretty good. And then the match is really good. And then some you look at like, oh, that's going to be really good. And it fucking sucks. Then sometimes you see a match, oh, this is going to be a fucking barn burner. And it's a fucking barn burner.
It is.
It delivers, yeah.
The whole fucking show is filled with fucking champions. The whole show.
Yeah.
Every last fucking, with the exception of
The tag,
no. Pretty much everybody's a fucking champion on this show, right? Or will be a champion.
Well, except for the tag match with the Horsemen and the
Faces. Benoit was heavyweight champion.
Yeah. What's that?
Benoit was heavyweight champion.
Well, I mean, had been.
Yes, what I mean, or future champion. So, this is how good this match is. This match is a fucking 5-star match. I don't give a fuck what Dave Meltzer says. My wife sat down and watched the show with at least the match with me, rather. And for her being, not a wrestling fan, hates wrestling, thinks it's funny, thinks it's stupid, she was edge of her seats by the end of the match. She was so, she'd never seen a luchador match before, a cruiserweight match before, ever. And for her to turn to me and go, that was amazing. That's how you get new fans, So Eric Bischoff he was ingenious to start so many shows with stuff that many of us had never seen before. Most of us had never seen before in the United States, at least up north, had never fucking seen. It was just, the match itself was spectacular. Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio, who had been quite famous actually outside of the national spotlight, in Japan and Mexico and ECW, they made a name for themselves. But to watch them tear it down on one of the basically WCW's biggest show of the fucking year, being Halloween Havoc, is a testament to how much they trusted them. And there was a little bit of a storyline, the mask was at stake or something, or he had his
Malenko stole his mask before.
Yeah. But none of that mattered because the match stood on its own. It could have been for nothing, just a one-on-one matchup. It didn't matter.
They resolved the whole mask thing within about the first 6 minutes of the match. Yeah, that was pretty much kind of done.
Malenko powders out and Ray grabs the mask and puts it over top of his other mask. It's quite clever, yeah.
Well, and you had it was so smart. So first off, I mean, the cruiserweights in WCW, I think, are my favorite thing about WCW.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, yeah.
I think those matches stole almost every show that they were on. But you have two guys that are going to this match that have such different styles. Ray is at the pinnacle of being a high flyer. And, Malenko is the man of 1,000 holds. Mm-hmm. And you've got Ray's quick style. You've got Malenko slowing it down. You've got, Malenko grappling and kind of trying to keep Ray on the ground. Mm-hmm. You've got Ray doing spins I didn't even think a human can do. You forget, the crazy shit that man did.
A lot of the physics did not obey Rey Mysterio.
On a human body, you can't spin around somebody like he did. Mm-hmm. But he did it all the time. It was just insanity. It was insane.
Yeah, no, first of all, it took me seeing this match again to realize that even Rey today, with all of his injuries and stuff, the thing that I could most say, if someone's describe Rey Mysterio in one sentence, I would say Rey Mysterio is always in motion. Even when he's selling,
he doesn't slow down.
Never slows down. He's always moving. Even when you catch him and you knock his ass out, he moves. You know what I mean? It's fluid. This match was fucking like butter. Everything they did, even the shit that by a standard watching it back, you're like, oh, that might have been a little sloppy. It was still smoother than any other fucking thing on this show. Dean Malenko, first of all, I have a note here. It's a bit of a joke. Good for Dean Malenko to get to be a big guy for exactly one time in his career.
Yeah.
Because he did. He played the heavy muscle. The commentators, everyone, for the start of this fucking show was ready to go. Bobby Heenan even putting over the fact that Dean Malenko isn't people don't like him, but that's not because he cheats. He doesn't cheat. He's just mean as shit.
Yeah.
And that's why people don't like Dean Malenko. It's oh yeah, it's a weird heel. No, he would, and also laying groundwork, he would be a babyface in a few months in WCW because you're going to stick him with the Horseman and make him U.S. champion, etc. But this, for as good as Dean Malenko was, and he was excellent, and I think he was the right call to go over in this match. My God, it's Rey Mysterio's show. It's his world. Everyone else is just living in it. And the fact that Dean was laying some serious fucking heat on that and just break. And then whenever Rey would pop out with a move, you're like, it's like a cold drink of water. Mm-hmm. You're like, there you go. Fucking Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, and he came across as a great heel, even though Dean Malenko over the years has very little personality.
Very little.
Yeah. But he came across as a good heel in that circumstance against Rey Mysterio, just because Rey Mysterio is so fast. And for as long as the match was, it felt like it was a fast match because of the pacing. And even though they have conflicting styles, I mean, it worked really well. They did the dance together. I mean, it was a great great match.
Well, on a previous episode of this show, we talked about, as we typically tend to, Bret Hart. I mean, I feel like you can't really...
I was going to fucking bring him up. But you just did.
I mean...
He's always right here in my heart.
You can't not do a wrestling episode and just not mention Bret Hart. But we were talking about that match. It was like the last episode we did when he was the SummerSlam match against British Bulldog. Yeah. And where we said, watching that match is how wrestling is now. Like, people watch that and realize that, like, this is where wrestling has to go now. And I felt that way watching this match between Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio because, you know, there's so many big guys in WCW. I mean, these guys are huge humans. And you watch these two, and I think this match is closest to anything we're going to see today than any other matches were on that pay-per-view.
I think that, and I think it was the next match too. I think those are the two because of the work rate and what I also like about it too is this wasn't a match for flipping shit for flipping sake. They told a story. Dean wants the title, and he was willing to psychologically steal Rey's mask and cut corners and grind this man to a pulp to get it. And Rey, and I think there's also, speaking of psychology, a psychological aspect of Rey Mysterio that he looks like a child in his era. He looks like a kid. So you naturally, and nobody heartless enough to boo the kid when he's getting the shit out of a guy who, Dean Malenko's barely out of his 20s, or he's still in his 20s, and he looks 40 in this. Facially. So this 40-year-old man is beating this teenager. I know. Just beating on this teenager, and you're just like, get him, kid. So it's like blends in there, but the idea that all of the shit is happening, but it had a reason. And they were selling. And they would, I mean, I have noticed like the snapmares in this match looked fucking good, and they hit like I love a good kitchen sink cutoff, and it was just and laying it in there. A pay-per-view full of this type of match would not work because you get burned out and you get tired of it.
Yeah, it's
opening
too
the WCW.
Quick,
that's what Bischoff did in the era. An opening with this kind of shit. Take my money on
Smart.
There were two sleeper holds in this match.
There were.
Yeah. And I was so excited about that. Like, motherfucker, slow it right the fuck down. You damn. How fucking vicious was that top rope power bomb?
Oh man, the four back of his head.
That power bomb off the rope.
There's two power bombs on this show that are fucking just brutal and abysmal. One for in this match, and the other, which I'm going to show them World's Most Restraint later and not mention as much as I possibly can, but both power bombs in this show are fucking absolutely just head whipping back, brutal shit. But I was like, how can that not be the finish? And thankfully it was.
Well, so like the thing that I thought was interesting about this match too is that there were probably 4 times where you could have ended it.
Oh yeah, even should have probably,
and probably should have, but they didn't. They just keep going. Go. And I just thought that was great because I think as the viewer too, you wanted it to keep going. Like you wanted a 20-minute match between these two. You didn't want it to just end, you know, unceremoniously. Even though any of the points they could have would have still been a very perfect finish to the match. But I like that they just kept going. It really added to it.
I think it's excellent. And just to give you my little thing. Before I get to my rating,
it's not that little.
No, hey, it does. It's not the length. It's the width.
It's the width.
Yeah, that's what gets you. I love the first match on a WCW pay-per-view. Always makes me reminded that I love Bobby Heenan's recaps at the end of a match. Like he's like, you do this thing. It's a flippy thing. 1, 2, 3. We've got a new cruiserweight champion. Like it's so specific.
They're so phoned in, but they are. Yeah. And then he hit him with the thing, and then he hooked him, and then it's over.
1, 2, 3, we got it. And he still puts the match over, but in the most phoned in way possible to do it.
One of my favorite things that Heenan had said, and I made a note of it here because I just thought it was great, is they're talking about Rey's, you know, being an international wrestler at this point. You know, he's working in Mexico, he's working in Japan, and he's traveling, and he's, you know, the light heavyweight champion or the cruiserweight champion, and you know, he's like, he's so tired. Look, he can't even grow hair.
I love it.
And I just said, thank you.
Barn burner of a match, indeed. My rating is 1,004.5 holds out of 1,000.
Jericho's pissed at you for that.
Oh, we're gonna get cheeky in that shit a little bit later. Backstage, Stagger Lee Marshall is backstage with Jeff fucking Jarrett, and all I'm bringing this up is how do we keep covering Jeff Jarrett matches?
I don't know. He just keeps getting in there.
He just sneaks in.
As we record this podcast, here in November of 2022. Jeff Jarrett in 2022 has worked for AAA, WWE, AEW,
Yep.
and fucking what else? Ric Flair's last match?
Yep.
All kinds of Jim Crockett Promotions. He's probably the only wrestler in history to work for Jim Crockett Promotions, AEW, and WWE in the same calendar year. He's fucking everywhere.
He's shoveling a fucking driveway across the street.
It's a work ethic. Third generation shoveler.
Oh, boy. Yeah, you know what? I only wrote one thing about it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the promo. I thought it was a great fucking promo by Jeff Jarrett. Showed a lot of fucking fire.
He's both being a babyface and a heel in it because the Horsemen are still heels.
Yeah.
And
he's trying his damnedest to get in the Horsemen. NWO wants him. He doesn't want in there.
No.
So he's selling it.
True. I don't know if anyone here besides Doc, you listen to Jeff Jarrett's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about how he was in the Horsemen, and everyone gives him a hard time about being the Horsemen. But he was, because the Horsemen at this time were also plagued with injuries. So you actually had four Horsemen
they were
during this era, which is interesting. But they're going to cut a promo, and basically it's supposed to be Flair and a Giant. Flair's hurt. He's the U.S. champion. Giant has stolen the U.S. championship, and Jarrett's going to get it back in our match later. But now, guys, we fucking did it. We made it to the point where not only do we get a Rey Mysterio match, we get an Eddie Guerrero match. Finally in a fucking podcast.
Ooh, let
back
me tell
to
you.
back.
Look, you know what's... man, let me tell you something. Almost, goddamn, every match is filled with a heavyweight champion or soon-to-be heavyweight champion. It's fucking amazing to me. Yeah, it's amazing if you think about it. DD fucking P and Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero is such a big fucking deal. Eventually. And he's a big deal then. In 96, he was a big deal. But to become Eddie Guerrero.
He hadn't got to that level.
He wasn't Eddie yet.
Give me the LWO Eddie Guerrero, man.
Oh, when he's fucking oozing anger.
Just pissed.
So fucking good.
Which is why I'm going to say this. I'm going to look right in your fucking eyes as I say this. You mean a Diamond Dallas Page match?
Oh, I mean, yeah. Yeah, we've covered a DDP match on the show before, on the show that will never end, and it's still currently recording in the archives. But yeah, we were pissed when we were doing earlier WCW, knowing that Eddie was on the pre-show and guys were on the undercards of these things, and now he's on the main card. And let's not kid ourselves. Let's just call a spade a spade. They're fighting over a fucking ring that was won at a battle royal that they don't even know where the ring is, but someone has the ring. Who gives a shit? The match, these two guys are so good that you don't give a fuck about the shitty storyline, because you know you're about to see DDP, who is a classic overachiever in every possible way, and one of the best wrestlers who ever have lived, and Eddie Guerrero. Fucking take my money.
Yeah, the battle for the ring, and I actually had to like stop the pay-per-view and then take like a 30-minute break to do research about what the fuck the ring was.
Yeah.
Because all they said is the battle for the ring. Who has the ring? Where is the ring? And like the entire commentary during the match is basically that.
Yes.
Yeah. Who's on first? Where's the ring?
Yeah, it was amazing.
So we also got to the point where, as you notice, anyone watching this on the WWE Network, that this is the match on the show that has been heavily edited for multiple reasons. DDP's music was very, very, very copyright infringed.
I love that song.
It's so good. It's so good, and it's so WCW, but then, like, you know, immediately, as soon as they purchased WCW, the WWE's lawyers are like, yeah, if there's anything we're fucking hitting the mute button on, it's the not Nirvana song.
I have a serious question.
Yeah.
For the three of you guys, and myself included, the four of us, your favorite, I'm talking no joke, no bullshit, favorite WCW theme song of all time. Ever. It doesn't matter what year, what era, favorite ever. No judgment. Unless it's American Males. I will fucking judge the shit out of you.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give you a 3, 2, 1 just because it's the easiest thing. 3 is I love Savage's theme in WCW with the electric guitar. Like the way it was in, because it's just as fucking wacky as Macho Man is, and it's excellent. I would go number 2. Because it's the king of all knockoffs. It's the only song that's more knocked off than the DDP Nirvana song. Is Jericho's Pearl Jam song.
Yeah. It's a good song.
Jericho coming down.
Yeah, that is not his song in this pay-per-view.
We're
going to talk about that.
But number 1 is Grindhouse. Man, the NWO theme. It is such a fucking vibe. When you hit it, it's like, oh shit! And you know that if and I don't care who it is. It could have been Hulk Hogan, could have been Kurt Hennig, it could have been Masahiro Chono. Whenever that song comes out, you know it's gonna take someone 90 minutes to get from the back plate through the front, and it's gonna have looped twice. The and that's my shit right there.
Mac?
All-time favorites.
I mean, he's taken a little bit of the steam out of my engine on that one, but I mean, it's absolutely the NWO theme song.
Huh?
But see, I also because I know it more from his time in WWE, but I fucking love what Harlem Heat with Booker T's music.
Yeah. That's iconic.
It's so fucking good.
It's a really good song.
Real good.
I had forgotten that it was Harlem Heat sung before, Booker T just kind of had it solo. So I'm just going to go and throw that one out there too.
For me, it's also NWO.
I'm
And
surprised.
maybe it's because I was a big NWO guy, but also because you hear it 8 times in every WCW show, so it's just fucking burned in there. So it's like, yeah, that's what I got to.
I'm gonna dial back 1 second. I'm sorry to this table, to some of our listeners. I'm sorry. I'm gonna throw Goldberg's song out there too.
It's a banger song.
Just this
the
drums
Didn't he
and
end somebody's career?
that's why I'm sorry.
Yeah, so he didn't make that song, and we'll allow you to do it. Fun thing, has anyone ever listened to the album Welcome to Jamrock from Damian Marley? He remixes Goldberg's song as the opening song on that fucking album, and
really?
it still gets you jazzed up. Like
It's a good song.
It's excellent. Yeah, so yeah, for sure, it's awesome. Yeah, he's not by any
Time
means.
you go to the club and spear some motherfuckers.
Oh yeah. So, Doc, come on, man. You set us up just so you could say
I
this.
was
What is
starting
your favorite?
to, and it goes totally without saying, Arn Anderson's. You
damn it,
fucking
I do.
serious? I mean, look, no shame to
I have it all caps in my fucking notes about it.
I don't like anything about Arn Anderson, including his music.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I don't like anything about Arn Anderson. I never did.
You bite your fucking tongue.
son of
I
a
never
bitch.
liked the Four Horsemen, and I never liked Arn
Jesus.
Anderson.
No wonder you like the NWO music.
It's the fucking
And
prettiest.
How dare you don't
I'm not
you
taking it
don't
back
know
either.
good wrestling
I
when
don't
you
fucking
see it.
care.
He
You
likes
don't know
Bret.
it.
He likes. I've never. And let me just say this. I'm gonna kind of dissect your brain eventually here, Vandergrift. I've never met a human being who loves Bret Hart, but doesn't like or love Arn Anderson.
It's because he's never watched any of his old shit. That's why. That is why.
Like,
Dude was he was so good.
when he was TV champion, that was like in a whole new world. But he has, first of all, he's the inventor of Spinebuster, which is incredible. But he has my all-time favorite DDT in the history of the wrestling bit. He does this fucking thing where he goes to throw a punch and they duck, and it's like almost like when docking is perfect, right? It's like lines up beautifully and then it drops. It's the most incredible thing. But you know what? I don't take that as you're a piece of shit, because normally anyone else came in here and said that
I didn't say he's a bad wrestler.
No.
I just said I don't
I
like
take that as a challenge.
It's 100% a challenge.
Challenge accepted.
Okay.
Because look, and I'm gonna be real with you, Chief. All right, Arn
shit.
Anderson.
Christ.
Heavy eye contact.
Arn Anderson is one of the best orators in wrestling history. And I don't know, like most of us, like, we didn't watch a lot of like Jim Crockett shit. That was not our region. We were too young. You go back and watch that shit. Dude was so good. Like he was so fucking good.
Not a fan.
And he will sell you on it. You're gonna go.
Okay.
You're gonna have a real respect for this man.
All right. We'll see.
Because his promos alone back in the 80s were fucking money.
When we talk about Halloween Havoc 97, we'll talk about it.
Oh, man.
He's
Oh,
gone.
man.
He's done by then. He's done by then.
I wish we were like visually recording this, because I want the people in our audience to know how Herb Jones' entire like complexion changed when
the energy in this room changed.
When Jeff Vandergrift said,
I thought you just called me Jeff Anderson.
I was basically that point. That's where I am. When Jeff said that, Herb went from being like I'm like happy and everything to like, you motherfucker.
No,
I'm
like
just
a complete
surprised.
change.
You don't like the song?
He hit you with the. I'm sorry. What did you say?
It's,
like, drop that.
Dude, when the guitar riff hits, it's iconic. It takes you to the 80s.
And there's certain songs that are perfect to come out of, like, they do it here, and they did it last show too. Though when you're coming out of a backstage segment and the music starts while you're still in another shot, that
I love it.
You're like, that's it. And then that big the crane shot down, and then there's Arn. Arn Anderson is so fucking awesome. We're cutting ahead, I know, but we're going to go back to
We really should wait to talk about this when we go to
this
the match, but it's too late now.
He wears a denim vest, and nobody has the fucking balls to tell him not to.
Except for Sid.
Sid and a pair of scissors, apparently.
Yep.
But let's talk about, first of all...
Yeah, DDP Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah. We
didn't know how good we had it. And I don't think anyone knew how good we had it through the entirety of his life and his career. But like even then, now, with still, he hadn't come up to the LWO. He wasn't at the lie, cheat, steal shit yet. He was still plucky from El Paso babyface Eddie Guerrero, and he was still just so fucking good.
Mm-hmm. He was excellent.
And DDP, talk about somebody with something to prove.
There was a lot of hair in this match. There's a lot of hair.
There's some mullet action.
Just the mullet quota for this pay-per-view was met with these two coming into the ring.
Like the hair in this match, take DDP or Eddie Guerrero out of this era and look, and you say that gentleman has a serious cassette tape collection. Like that's the kind of look that they have. The mustache and the just destroyed from perm's hair. But this match is excellent. This match is excellent and really good, and I love it.
A long while ago, I read a quote real quick. I'm just going to put, I think you guys will appreciate it. I read a while ago that someone said about Eddie Guerrero, he wrestles bigger than he is.
Eddie the Giant is what they call him.
And I always stuck with me because it's really accurate with how he wrestles. No matter who he wrestled like he was the same fucking height, no matter what. And this match really demonstrates how short Eddie was. Because DDP's 6'5".
Yeah.
And Eddie's like a solid 5'8".
But he wrestles big.
Well, how many times did you see him just grab DDP by the waist and pick him up?
Take him over. Take him down.
Yeah.
And I think that shows that the brawler of DDP and then the skill. Here's my problem with this. It's not a problem. But there's three things happening simultaneously in this match. You have the Eddie Guerrero DDP match happening. At the exact same time, you also have the Nick Patrick storyline happening through this match of is he an NWO guy? Is he a heel referee? Is his neck hurt? How slow are the counts? And so at the same time, while both of these things are happening, we're supposed to split our difference, you have Bobby Heenan, Tony Schiavone, and Dusty Rhodes fucking having a meltdown all over commentary on this match. Like the idea that they all held their shit together during Rey Mysterio and Dean Malenko, but that match is like 5 minutes too long, and they're out of time for each other.
It started going off the rails.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah. I had, in my notes here, I just said there were a lot of long 2 counts in this match. And what's great is this is when they were really starting to, they were really calling it out. He's like, it was like, 1, 2, 3, 2.
Yeah, Nick Patrick was a big deal in this show, and it was. I mean, I'm sure it had been done in the regional territory days, but to watch like a heel ref just really ham it up, it was fantastic.
We haven't had that
because you can't do it too many times.
You know, it has to be very special. And in wrestling, when you nail something as hard as you nail it, about as good as an angle can go, it doesn't do you any justice to do that again while the people who would remember it are still alive. And that's why we haven't really had that. And
to your point, Mac, there's I think the biggest reason why no one's really done it since, or at least that I know of successfully, is that the perfect storm of there's a takeover, there's some secret money, someone's being paid off, is he really hurt? It made perfect sense. A ref being an evil ref for the sake of being an evil ref doesn't make sense, but being paid off makes total fucking sense. It does.
And also, it's the person point I'm trying to cut off one last thing. But Nick Patrick is the son of Jody Hamilton, the Mass Destroyer. So, like, he's a second generation wrestler. He was a wrestler himself. So this isn't like you picked a referee and taught him how to sell. You had a wrestler who became a referee, and it was the right thing at the right time. In an era, a guy came up in Southern wrestling where they did heel wrestling and heel ref shit all the time.
Yeah, it was. Patrick was my MVP of the pay-per-view, right? I think we kind of even mentioned that before we started recording. I just loved how that unfolded throughout the show because, again, it was a great piece of storytelling because you start to hint at it here. And then he has 2 more matches, I think, after this, maybe?
I believe so.
And it just gets exceedingly more and more
exaggerated
with it. And
shirt gets more unbuttoned as it goes on.
He can't count to 3 because of his neck.
Every single time
1 and 2 is fine.
It's so
every single
good.
time he would
It's
go,
so
he just kept grabbing. I mean, it was so fucking
It's
perfect.
so perfect.
It was.
And the match is obviously rolling towards something special, but alas, Eddie Guerrero gets hurt at the end of the match. I've shared before when we were researching this episode, the DDP has posted that Eddie gets hurt on the dive outside. They try to keep it going, they can't. And
the knee
on the knees outside, and
they called that. Mm-hmm. They said that when he hit, because when you see him jump and you see him land, you see Eddie immediately react like, "Oh fuck."
Well, Eddie has had a history of knee problems, and that's no doubt that he knew it was bad. Tried to work through it, couldn't. So he calls Diamond Cutter, DDP, in the middle of the heat. So basically, kind of squashes Eddie a little bit, but it was necessary because no doubt whatever they had planned was going to fuck Eddie up worse than taking the Diamond Cutter.
Yeah.
What happened to him in that? What was the result?
Nothing major. He was back a couple of months later, but he was still, because he ends up winning the U.S. Championship at Starrcade 3 months later from DDP.
Okay. It was weird watching a not quite fully evolved Diamond Cutter.
Yeah, he was still working on that.
It was just sort of like, I'm going to do it.
It was sort of lackluster.
But I don't think Eddie didn't want to take the bump straight up because he didn't know how bad he was hurt. So it was like to it as protected as he could.
It's funny too because in the commentary of the match, there Heenan's talking about how look, he's doing these things to set him up for the Diamond Cutter. And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't remember the Diamond Cutter ever having me set up. It was always like out of nowhere. Once he finally got
it. One mistake. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And then, the commentators try to cover for it, but it's apparent to everybody that Eddie's hurt, and they try to get out of town about as fast as they can, not show Eddie's not. But no, he was back on the road in 2.5 months, and by Starrcade in December, he actually wins the vacant U.S. title. So whatever it wasn't serious, but it was enough to shock them. But anyway, I love the match up to the finish. I think it was great, but because of the Nick Patrick storyline and the commentators, I think it took away from the match. So I gave this thing, I rated it 2.5 non-licensed music out of 5.
I will give it the one bump to a 3.5 because as Diamond Dallas Page is leaving the ring, he has the ring and looks into the camera and says, "I am the Lord of the Ring." And my nipples are still hard.
I think that moment is very...
Cut fucking glass with them.
Fucking
precious.
Right. Absolutely.
All right.
Poking me with them.
I can't help
Gentlemen,
it.
it isn't a Halloween Havoc show unless we have a ridiculously long backstage segment where someone has to give something away because Slim Jim ordered them to, and we're backstage with the Macho Man, Randy Savage, and he's just absolutely being pure cocaine about this. It is fucking incredible. And it's the first time of the night where I just wish Randy Savage was like the president for life. So we can fucking have every day with this shit. It's gotta go with Hulk Hogan and and he just starts going up. What are you looking at?
He was on some shit that night. He was feeling something.
He was talking to people that were
And I'm looking there. How you doing? Good to see you. Anyway, what are we doing? It's like, dude.
Well, what's great is that, like...
Macho Man has broken Dave McDonald. I repeat.
Yeah.
Macho Man has broken Dave McDonald.
Past the point of no return.
It's because I didn't think about the cocaine.
It all lines up now.
Dots just got connected.
That's my only line here. Let me read you my whole lineup. It isn't Halloween unless they give something away. And now this time it's Savage being absolutely pure cocaine about it. That's my only write-up in this whole segment.
I'm laughing so hard about it. I'm crying because I'm connecting the dots that clearly...
Well, shit.
This is fantastic.
I can't even say it.
Clearly.
Take your time, man.
Because clearly... You could tell before he took the cocaine that somebody told him you have to use your Slim Jim phrases as you're doing the giveaway. Because every time he just kept trying to say snap into a Slim Jim or I'm snapping into it, he just kept saying it over and over and over again because that's the only thing he could remember in his mind.
He did have it on his jacket and his hat.
And his pants, too.
Because when they give away the monster truck, he just kept saying 4 times, look, I snapped it. I snapped into it. Making sure that he was fucking checking the boxes so that check cleared from Slim Jim. But yes, when he gets to the thing and I'm like, oh, he's going to reach in. He's like, no, he pulls the top part of the thing off and he goes, look, I snapped into it. Oh, yeah. Yep. And I just didn't connect the cocaine until just now, and that fucking ended
Brother,
me.
You almost always have to connect cocaine with Macho Man.
Yeah.
No one pulled off cocaine and spiced meat sticks like Randy Savage did. Yes. Oh,
that makes them good.
Rare combination.
What the fuck is him going to do with a fucking monster truck?
I think the biggest question is, does that lady in Michigan still have this fucking monster truck?
I fucking hope so.
If you're listening to this and you have wound up with the Randy Savage Halloween Havoc 1996 Slim Jim monster truck, call me.
Or if you know where it is.
Yes. Everyone has where are they now?
Yeah.
The monster truck.
Where are they?
Let us know.
What's great is later in the pay-per-view, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, when Macho...
when they pull it out.
When they pull out the monster truck, and oh, it's the monster truck, they're giving it away, and then somebody goes, wait, no, it's not, it's a different one.
We're going to spend way less money on that one.
No, baby, you can't give that one away, baby.
That's right, man.
He's like, wait, no, okay.
Randy Savage and that heavyweight title and all.
Then we cut back.
If you will.
After this, that amazing of a segment, we cut backstage again, where Chris Jericho is there plugging WCWWrestling.com, which I believe is the earliest internet reference on any of our shows we've gotten so far. They did it on 98 with WWF.com, but this is in 96. They're plugging the internet, and Jericho's back there with someone I could only
transcribing his fucking promo.
Yeah.
Fucking love it.
Yeah. It's fucking incredible. Someone's go out there and find me a nerd who can type. He's going to be on TV with Jericho, and that's exactly.
I saw fucking Netscape and CompuServe, and I fucking lost my shit.
Netscape made me lose it. Yeah, it's like Angel Fire and Blake is going to happen here.
They couldn't have found a more stereotypical person to be working a computer than the person they had working the computer next to Chris Jericho.
It was perfect.
Did anybody try to go to the website?
Nope.
No.
I did.
Well, they're thinking of WWE.
No, it's
it was really dark. Yeah. Oh, okay, I was going to say it took you to a dark place.
No,
it
the dark
ain't what you think it is anymore.
Yeah, no, it redirected and the sites that aren't
Did your internet browser shrunk as Fu Manchu and go, yeah, that's not going to work for me, brother.
Wait a minute. Wait, did the computer just execute his fucking creative control on his ass?
Yes.
God damn it, man.
Oh, it's going to do a work shoot with Vince Russo after that.
Speaking about work shoots and Vince Russo, Jeff Jarrett is going to face off against the Giant in a match that was not terrible. I really still don't like Jeff Jarrett's gimmick in WCW. I don't like the fucking music. It was fucking terrible. I don't like his fucking costume. It was fucking terrible.
No, see, his costume was designed to get heat as a heel. The fucking Chippendale, Venetian Blinds outfit. It's terrible. So as a heel, it makes sense. But he's like a pseudo babyface here, so you couldn't... and then later in the show, he comes out to rescue Marco and Benoit, and he's just in a white cut-off T-shirt and a hair pulled back in the ponytail, and he looks way more of a babyface than he did earlier in the night.
Yep.
See, before you can talk about this, I have to talk about Giant. I have to talk about Mr. Paul White, because everything on Paul White is pretty much shaved down at this point. You can see that he's got the perfectly just 5 o'clock shadow mane on his chest at this point. But they forgot that he also needed to shave his unibrow. That was going on at this point in time.
So bad.
That was my very first note about this, is that his unibrow is on point, but his promo is not.
No.
Because, Jeff Jarrett, I'm going to make sure that I get you, and I'm going to slam you right in the middle. And I'm
Hold on.
The fuck?
That's what I hear.
No, now, in all due fairness, the Giant is a year into his pro career.
I don't give a fuck.
It's 1 year. So, considering what he can do in the ring, that some people couldn't do after many years, cool. But why on earth would you have the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase out there and then decide to take the microphone away from him to give to the 7-foot pubescent boy that's just shouting into the microphone?
Really shouting.
Slim Paul White, right? At this point?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the Giant's going to stick Jarrett all over the place. He's going to stick him here and he's going to stick him there and he's going to take him to the glue factory. So everything was just so
I have a note. I call him the Twig Show.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. I appreciate
Twig
it.
Show to Big Show. We also got the introduction of the NWO entranceway.
We did.
Because in kayfabe, they weren't working for WCW. The NWO was their own thing. So they had to have their own entrance. They had to be escorted in and out via security. And Ted DiBiase was the mouthpiece.
Doing the intros for them because no one would pay for the ring announcer, wasn't supposed to.
Yep.
That actually idea, though cool for a minute, I can see why it would get tiresome, and it eventually didn't make it out of 96 before they started using the entrance way.
But, you know, and all of that being said, there was such a major difference between DiBiase being the mouthpiece and then even like when Hogan was trying to cut his promo before he went out, I was like, oh, just give the mic back to DiBiase.
DiBiase knows what he's doing. That's all he's doing. He's not bumping. He can't bump. So like he's just talking, getting everybody over. Yeah, I think this was what a weird snapshot of 1996. I think it's probably the best thing this match does because you have Paul White starting a year in. 1 year ago, he was raping Hulk Hogan in the main event of the pay-per-view, and now he's defending a U.S. championship, even though he's not the U.S. champion.
Yep.
Did he rape him in the middle of the ring? Like, really?
Yeah, straight up. Like, just double penetration.
There was a Yeti involved.
There was a Yeti.
I did hear about the Yeti.
Yes,
I did.
There was just straight dry humming. After being murdered and coming back from the dead. Let's not forget
he did go off a building.
1 year earlier, he was dead. And then that's a big come up, you know.
Hogan committed murder. But didn't.
With a monster truck.
There's a great comedian who had passed away several years ago. His name's Robert Schimmel. I've often talked to you guys about Robert Schimmel. I'm sure I've played one of his comedy specials. But he was talking about wrestling. He's like, you know that fake wrestling? He's like, you know, in wrestling, they should let the winner rape the loser in the middle of the ring. He's like, and then because then sometimes someone's gonna be fighting.
I think they make websites about that.
But he's like, yeah, then sometimes like somebody's gonna be fighting for real. So as you said that, all I just see is like Giant, like grabbing Hogan as he's like clawing at the ring.
No, brother, no, that's not gonna work for me, brother. That's not gonna work for me.
So Jeff Jarrett.
Anyone who decides to put that in the Rule 34 incognito browser, don't do it on your work.
I would say
computer.
solid match, David and Goliath match. It was good for what it was. Jeff Jarrett is just a strong performer,
hyper athletic in this
across the
too.
board.
Like he was getting up. He drop kicked the Giant on the chin. Like he ran all the way up to the chin with that
you
drop
need some
kick.
leverage for that.
Yeah, that was huge ups on that. That takes a lot.
Those kicks. Well, you know, another thing I noted here is just like, you know, you saw Jarrett trying to get a hold on Giant, and I just keep wanting to call him Show, obviously. But like, it looked like a child on his father's back during a piggyback ride.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, it was such a strange visual to see him do that. And also trying to put the Giant into a figure four.
Yeah.
Like, his legs were far too big for that.
On the outside.
Yeah.
So even if you did manage to get it in there, how are you going to get the submission? It would have taken you the 10 count to do, I don't even know.
No.
Kayfabe, this match was all over the place.
He put him in the figure four, and then Giant just kind of leans over and chokes him.
Yeah. Yep. And then the whole match, again, it's just like and this is going to be a theme as the night goes on. You have your match going on, but then there's the story around the match, which is distracting from the match. And then you've got the commentators just not paying attention to the match. So you got Flair just hobbles his ass around the whole time, loses his mind, ultimately distracts and causes the end of the match. Meanwhile, Bobby the Brain Heenan and Dusty Rhodes continue their streak, 3 out of 3, of just fucking taking over a match, babbling about inane bullshit. So you get to the idea, Flair low blows Giant for the DQ, but who really cares? You're kind of grateful it's over so we can get on to the next thing.
I'm surprised it went as long as it did.
How did Flair not break his hand on those giant nuts?
A long time ago, there was an interview of Paul White. It was like Conan or Jay Leno or something, and they were talking about the size of his penis. And the viewers or listeners can't see what I'm going to do, but he does this when inquired about how big his dick was.
Small.
Yeah, that's one.
Now, that's small, with our hands, with his hands.
Yeah.
But here, and I'll just say this, and one of the things that you can't believe the phrase is going to come out of my mouth, but she'd verify this. She says this. I remember it was Backlash 99 or 2000, and I had the pay-per-view at my house, and my mom was watching it with us, and this is when Big Show was doing that gimmick where he was impersonating other wrestlers, and so he came out as the Showster, the Hulk Hogan, and he was wearing the yellow trunks and was not wearing a cup, so the outline of his penis was clearly visible. And my mother says, just randomly, and I've never been able to forget it, she turns, if he has a normal man's penis, it's going to look small on his body. And I was like, okay, Mom.
Well, thanks for that.
thanks for the information. So even if he's like...
That's
he's packing,
forever burned in there now.
Yes, exactly. So even if he's packing the average roll of quarters, it's going to look like a stack of dimes because of the body that it's being compared to.
Wait, so on the flip side of that, if we're talking about a very small human who has an average sized penis,
it's going to look like they're
massive
carrying,
on them?
It's going to look like they got a tube sock full of fucking dinner rolls.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's Pete Davidson.
So Chris Jericho versus Six.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next match.
Wait, I just want to rate this match here. I gave it a 2. That's double F, double U, double C, double K, double S, fucks out of 5.
All right, that's
I
fair.
like that.
I would have also.
I think we should put everything on a fucking scale like that.
On the double.
I would have also accepted Ric Flair paychecks as he was just cashing in.
He's just trying to get
another
back.
Guaranteed
Yeah.
money, baby.
Our
Guaranteed
second
money.
straight pay-per-view that we've been covering in wrestling where Ric Flair is just not working.
But he did not blade on this.
No.
At least he didn't come out wearing his wrestling gear.
No.
You know.
Ric Flair's suit is his wrestling gear.
It is in a lot of ways. It's a blazer that he's going to elbow drop.
Yeah.
He can style and profile in that.
Hey, so it's a 2-parter.
We talked about this. We were supposed to avoid this.
Yeah, we haven't been together for a little while, so I figured this would happen.
Yeah.
The last Halloween Havoc is its own season, so how did you fucking think this was going to be one
Because
episode?
we're adults and we know what we're doing, but apparently we don't know what we're doing.
No.
What about
There
this?
was a structure, there was a
Let
plan.
you believe that we know what we're doing.
All we
plan.
had to do was stick to the plan.
The plan always goes to
Motherfuckers
shit.
can't
Yeah.
do that.
Well,
Every time.
Macho Man had Snap Into It 55,000 times all over his suit. What did you think we weren't going to talk about that?
I was trying to avoid it.
We
Well, we're
should have
gonna
done
keep-
cocaine like him.
Well, you know, we got to lead up a little bit of cliffhanger action. Does Macho Man do cocaine in the main event? Proper, dead center of the ring. Does he come out, knock Hulk Hogan out, and do a flying line off of his naked buttocks in the middle of the ring?
Imagine like watching Macho Man like land an elbow and this while he's sitting there just
That'd be incredible. Oh yeah! Find out if that happens as we bring you part 2. Check this out. They're gonna hate me next week.
wait, next week?
Next week, I'm gonna make everyone wait a whole week.
A whole week?
Yeah, let me just be real for a
Long
second.
time.
Let me just inside baseball. Every time I do these 2, 3, 4 parters and post them all on the same day, we don't get the kind of viewership that I want. So, you know, just like your teacher, I'm gonna make you wait for it. I'm gonna make you want it. I'm gonna make you need it, and then when you're in my van, then I'll give it to you next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, how many parts is this going to be? Is it be a 2-parter? Will it be a 3-parter? Will it be a 4-parter?
Could be the rare 5-parter. I'll see you next week.
Bye.